Right, welcome back everybody. Last week, news broke of cement company Afrisam wanting to sell its business to larger rival Pretoria Portland Cement, or PPC, in exchange for new PPC shares. Analysts say the possible merger could have a market value of the JSE of more than 25 billion rand. Now, in its merger proposal with PPC, it said it was considering Afrisam and said the companies needed to scale to compete against international conglomerates across Africa, including Nigeria's Dangote Cement and merging European giants Holcim and Lafarge. For analysis on the possible merger, we're joined in studio now by Clive Ramitibela, and it's good to have you. Thank you very much. Thanks for being our guest here on This Morning.
Absolute pleasure.
Is there a real chance of this merger taking place?
There's a massive opportunity for it to happen. You know, you've seen the recent reports with what's been taking place with PPC. They haven't seemed to have gotten their house in order, and there's a lot of question marks around the management and the structure of the management that's been taking place. So Afrisam must be looking at this and thinking, well, there's a solid reason to make, excuse the pun, because we're talking about cement here.
Yeah.
But, you know, you must be thinking, oh, here's a great opportunity for us to actually participate, where we can actually make gain out of the merger. 25 billion on the JSE is a massive job. So it makes them become formidable, makes them stronger, and you can think about the infrastructure development plans that Africa has for the next 10 to 15 years that are going to be taking place. You think about the dams in the DRC, you start thinking about what's going to be taking place in South Sudan alone. The potential there to grow in cement is quite massive. So I think this is a great opportunity for the two companies to actually consider this particular deal.
Just going back a step, this 25 billion. Put us in perspective. What perhaps is one of the biggest companies worth on the JSE?
But you know, you have to go back and think about. I'll go on share, and then we'll go on profit. On profit. So, for example, if you look at Naspers, for example, which is your DSTV and the likes, who have an exposure, for example, in China's Tencent and all that. That business alone, you're looking at anything between 28 to 30 billion rand. So that's the kind of business that we're talking about here. It's massive chunk of money. So you have to look at not just the value, of course. You have to look at the synergies between the two businesses and the strategic partnerships that they could have with the rest of the African continent. So they want to compete with Dangote. I don't think they should be putting themselves in that range, and that's why I'm wearing my Nigerian tie here.
Oh, really? Okay. Because that is huge.
But that is massive. That is massive. And Dangote is massive around the Western African side. But will they be able to challenge them? And that's the question.
Well, you never know. We'll have to see if it does get a sense of what's going on. But I think in terms of the South African cement market and current demand, is it there? I mean, how big is it really?
You know, the one thing that you have to ask yourself is, what is the potential going into the future? I mean, when you're an investor, you look at opportunity, you calculate your risk, but there's no investment without any risk. So obviously, if the merger does take place, you start questioning yourself, who will lead the front? Who will be the CEO, the new CEO? Or will they be core CEOs, as it is in some companies? And how will they structure the assets, and who's going to own what and what portion, and who's going to benefit the most? How are the shareholders going to respond to this? I'm not talking just about the direct involved shareholders, but even both companies, and they're listed on the JSE. How will the rest of the market actually respond to that type of merger? So those kind of things need to still be analysed, and we need to understand the kind of animal that's been developing out of this. And if it does work, who stands to gain the most? Is it the shareholders? Is it the businesses? Or is it the owners themselves?
Okay. Let's just look back at the African continent now. We can see that Afrisam have a cement plant. They've got it in Tanzania. They've got operations in Rwanda and the DRC. Where else can we see them moving into?
You know, there's a number of areas. I mean, one of the places that nobody ever actually mentions, it's Lesotho, and it's right here in our backyard. And that's where also you have a lot of dams. You know about the story about Lesotho. I mean, it's got so much water there. Just from those snow mountains that bring in the water, they've got a number of dams to control the water supply, obviously. But that's not the only part that you have to be concerned about. You have to also go further up north into the Central African countries. You also have to look at Kenya as a potential as well, where they could also be participating. The reason why Dangote has been able to be strategically well positioned on the African continent is because they've got very strong links and bilateral agreements with those particular countries that they participate in. And so to share the market with the rest of the African market, you have to show strong viability to actually enter the African market.
very quickly, because time is up, but I need to address this. PPC, of course, has been experiencing a lot of governance problems. They've been in the news. It's been a bit of a shambles at the moment. Is this going to help?
No and yes. So let me help the part that says no. No, because you need to sort out your house before you actually start thinking of getting into a new marriage. That's the first thing. And yes, because if this does work, then it will make them come out a more formidable force to be reckoned with in the African continent.
Excellent, Clive. Thank you so much for talking to us. Clive Ramajibela is a business analyst talking to us about Afrisam and a possible merger with Pretoria Portland Cement. That's PPC. Very, very interesting if it does go ahead. A 25 billion rand company on the JSE. That will be the worth of this company. All right, let us now get straight into sport.